Good afternoon from Cape Town. We're here together at the South African Digital Economy Report Lounge. And I'm here together with Sitho Mdlalose, CEO of Vodacom South Africa. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Akim. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Digital economy set up to reach up to 20% of GDP by 2025 here in South Africa. How do you see telecoms driving that, especially in such a digital economy?
Well, Akim, I think really for us, what we've seen is the power of the digital economy in South Africa. We've seen the impact that it can have across every different sphere, whether it's in individuals' lives and their ability to connect, their ability to drive small businesses. We've seen the impact of digital transforming education, transforming health, transforming agriculture. And so for us, when we think about the digital economy, we really have a great sense of what it can do to the broader economy in South Africa. We've seen it across the continent, across the world, indeed, where the power of technology is able to transform individual lives, businesses, and so on, for that to contribute to the economic growth, really. And so from that perspective, I think we see it as being a really key lever in the South African economy. We're prepared to keep investing in terms of how we'll see that drive and continue to grow. And we've got real growth prospects, whether it's in core mobile or what we term beyond mobile. So if you're talking about fixed or cloud, hosting, IoT, and so on, in all those different areas, there's lots of growth and probably great impacts for the economy.
All right. So we can say digital transformation is actually happening in South Africa.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, if I look at just Vodacom alone, and we look at the number of things that we're doing right across the sector, for example, digitizing smart meters when it comes to water solutions, digitizing entire coal automation systems, and digitizing education, some of the solutions that we have in there. So I think for us, the digital transformation is not something we talk about or dream about. It's something that's actually happening in our solutions today.
All right. So when we look at infrastructure and we look at networks, so what do you think are the main challenges to roll out 5G in South Africa?
Well, I think, look, main challenges to roll out 5G will continue to be the core challenges we face on our network. So firstly, the cost of rolling out the network is not small at all. Vodacom has pledged yet another 60 billion rand over the next 5 years. So we'll continue to invest at, call it, about 10 billion rand a year or more in terms of the network. That's what we've done for the past 5 years, the commitment we've made. So firstly, just the significance of the investment you make. And now with that investment, a lot of what you have is imported. So the exchange rates, the rand is massively crucial in that. But as we roll out, it's maintaining that infrastructure. And as we maintain that, there's all the challenges that you have in operations, such as vandalism and theft, and keeping up to speed with that. The broader infrastructure issues around energy in the country. The load shedding has reduced, but ultimately there's still the transmission grid, and so you've still got things like load reduction and so on. So the cost of operating the infrastructure that you roll out itself is massively challenging. And then, of course, once you do roll that network out, it's useless if people don't have devices.
Affordability.
Exactly. So the affordability of devices is massively important. And as Vodacom, we've looked at multiple solutions around how we do that, including one of our most recent innovations, which is easy to own. And that's really daily payments for a smartphone. So you can own a smartphone for as little as R8.50 a day.
So a real smartphone, not a feature phone.
A real smartphone, a real smartphone, Samsung, as well as some of our own branded devices. But you can own that for as little as R8.50 a day. And as you pay that, it gives you both data and the ability to use and unlock that smartphone. So it's those kind of innovative solutions that people need to be able to utilize the 5G networks that we roll out. And of course, for us, make it a more meaningful return.
So bridging the digital divide is still important in order. Before I start thinking about the big rollout 5G, I must make sure
it absolutely is. Absolutely.
All right. When we look at Fintech and Fintech revenue in Africa, 40% comes alone only from South Africa. How do you see competition in the market? Is it something where we say, okay, look, we're a bit afraid, we have a good mobile finance solution, so what is your take on that?
Look, I think it is on the one hand a super competitive market. On the other hand, I'd say on the other hand, it's still a very underserved banking environment.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is the bottom of the pyramid is still significantly underbanked when it comes to savings, to loans, to insurance. And I think that kind of penetration of those financial services into that base, there's still a lot of growth for that. So through our own app, VodaPay, our own financial services, we look to serve that sector. We look to serve small to medium enterprises who themselves can't get access to finance. So it's about making that access, the finance more accessible to smaller businesses, to people at the bottom of the pyramid. And I think that's a big place that digital fintech can play.
All right. You just mentioned access to finance. We also have access to market. And when we also look from a, let's say, policy harmonization perspective, what would you, if you would have a wish list, what would be your favorite change in terms of policies?
Look, I think the one thing that still remains a big, I wouldn't call it a concern, but I think a challenge for South Africa is really just the stability in things like spectrum policy. So clarity in renewal of spectrum, renewal of licenses, that sort of thing, the speed that's done with, the clarity with which it's done with. That's one element. I think the other element is really around how regulation in South Africa needs to catch up with the need ultimately for investment in things like fiber and so on. And to that extent, it's clear that some of that investment will only come through market consolidation. And some of the challenges that one sees in this market in going through and attempting to play out what market consolidation, which ultimately will bring increased investment, is a challenge. And I think some of those elements would certainly be in our wish list that both government and regulators would recognize what the best investment environment looks like in a place like South Africa.
All right. I mean, we heard a lot that it's very important, especially throughout Africa, that the public and private sector are working together. Would you say the public sector in South Africa started to listen more to actually the needs of the private sector in order to drive this economic growth?
Look, I think vice versa. It's not just about the public sector listening to the private sector. I think it's the private sector listening and really understanding how they can help and empower the public sector. I think it's not about, at Vodacom, we don't believe in just tech for tech's sake. We believe in technology that actually solves challenges, that solves, social grants. For example, we've got an e-vouchering solution that we've used across agriculture with the Ministry of Agriculture to distribute grant vouchers and so on for seed, for fertilizer, etc. So it's about solving challenges. It's about listening to the challenges and being a part of the solution. And I think likewise for the public sector, it's about understanding what the private sector has to offer and really understanding what those models look like. So I do think the listening is both ways, the learning is both ways, but the magic happens, like you say, when the partnership really forms.
Sounds good. Very, very optimistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks,
It's a pleasure.
Good to see you.
That was Tech Africa News. You can find more on techafricanews.com.